We are forming the Spider's Lair expedition. Those with short swords, armor and shield, come forward. Those with 3 combat skills training sessions and were not harmed by the spider, come forward. Those without experience will not be considered. Those who are going offline within 12 hours will be excluded. At the dungeon entrance, Notweir Inkpence shouted at the top of his voice. Arthur sat cross-legged on the ground while he sharpened his blade. At his side were Burning Kistair, Seikaranomi Cat Demon and Sylvanas, who were the pioneer explorers. Besides the 5 of them, there were other gamers who made up the 20 goblins in the contingent. They gathered and chatted in low voices about various strategies against the spiders from the forum. They also double-checked their rations that they had bought from Simba. With Notweir Inkpence hollering, more gamers gathered forward. Notweir Inkpence shouted for 10 minutes as he was waiting for the gamers who were finishing their training. Sherlock noticed the gamers' behavior. As this was not the first exploration of the spider's lair, it was not a concern. Sherlock was just curious if the third exploration would be successful. The gamers finished forming their expedition group. With Notweir Inkpence's prompting and strict requirements, all the eligible gamers had reported in for the expedition. Arthur and the rest of the expedition group did not wait any further. The contingent of 20 goblins set out towards the spider's lair. Sherlock was at the dungeon core main hall observing the expedition group via the dungeon core. They followed the dungeon's tunnel towards the spider's lair. Sherlock had published the area map on the official website so they would not get lost. Moreover, there was only a single way to the lair. After walking for an hour, they had almost arrived at the spider's lair. The gamers had been trained several times by Moros. They were not very experienced in combat, but they were no longer novices. Most of them had participated in the second expedition that had ended in bloodshed. This time around, they were full of confidence. Once the gamers arrived at the spider's lair entrance, they did not rush in like their second expedition. Instead, they fanned out and stayed hidden. Notweir Inkpence went out with his shield and short sword. He stood at the entrance and shouted, "Wah!" The nearby spiders were alarmed, and 4 spiders came charging at Notweir Inkpence. After baiting the spiders, he hurried back to the gamers' ambush area. When the underground spiders came within range, they hollered and charged out at the spiders. The spiders' intellect was low, so they did not detect the ambush. Moreover, it was only goblins. They were not afraid even if they were outnumbered. The spiders charged at the gamers. Tank 1 start pulling aggro. 4 spiders are coming. Notweir Inkpence ran back to the group while he shouted. 2 tanks, pull aggro. The rest can retreat. Don't go for damage. Spar for a while, then retreat. Arthur also shouted. The gamer beside him held a shield and charged towards the nearest spider. He slammed the short sword on his shield and shouted to attract the spider's attention. The spider lifted its leg to pierce his heart. As the spider charged by, Arthur dashed out with lightning speed from the side while holding his shield and the short sword. While the spider was distracted, he slashed the spider's stomach. Green blood spewed out all over his body. He jumped to one side to avoid more blood stains. The spider twisted its head, but another gamer attracted its attention by banging his shield and waving his short sword menacingly. The spider was not smart and only reacted to the nearest threat instead of the most dangerous one. The gamers made use of this to control the spider's aggro. This technique was taught by Moros. The gamers were allocated tasks based on their agility, speed, attack strength and constitution. The 20 gamers isolated the 4 spiders. They took turns to attack the spiders while using the shield for protection and the short sword to inflict damage. Before long, the spiders could not bear the siege and wanted to escape. When the gamers saw that the spiders were escaping, they tried all sorts of methods to stop them as they had spent many hours training just to kill a spider. The gamers' attacks became more frenzied. They were almost hurt by the spiders several times. Fortunately, with the shield's protection, they were unharmed. The spider fell to the ground, followed by a second and third spider. The 4th spider charged and sent the gamer who was trying to attract its aggro flying. Then, the spider fled with its injuries. Though a spider escaped, the gamers were satisfied with the result. It was a tremendous improvement to go from being annihilated by the spiders to besieging 4 spiders and killing 3. The goblins' constitutions were not as good as the spiders, but the goblins were more agile and intelligent. As long as they controlled their fear and gained some experience and combat skills, with teamwork, it would not be hard for them to kill the spiders. Sherlock observed the gamers celebrating on the screen of the dungeon core. He had not expected the gamers to improve that fast. He had thought they would need at least a month of training to kill the spiders. Their phenomenal performance was outside of Sherlock's expectation. The gamers surrounded the spiders and started examining them. As Sherlock was going to take a closer look, Simba came in and started complaining about how the goblins did not understand him. They were pestering him for equipment and did not give him time to rest. Even when he slept, the gamers would peep at him, leaving him unable to sleep. Simba said, "This bunch of imbecile fools think only they need sleep. Don't they realize that I need to sleep too? Instead, while I'm sleeping, they pull my sleeping bag. I wish I could smash open their thick skulls to see what's inside." Simba had lots of grievances. He was extremely unhappy with the gamers and was almost on the verge of exploding. The other 2 NPCs, the fairy and Moros, were also harassed by the gamers, but they did not dare to complain. The fairy was a slave, while Moros was in awe of Sherlock. He treated the goblins as close servants of Sherlock. Even when he was awakened in the middle of his sleep by the goblins, he did not make a fuss. Sherlock listened to Simba's complaints while observing the dark rings underneath Simba's eyes. He had to make arrangements for private rest chambers for both Simba and Moros. The other gamers would have to wait longer for their own. Sherlock placated Simba and arranged for the construction of 2 private rest chambers. However, he didn't plan on constructing a private rest chamber for the little fairy. He wasn't so empathetic as to build one for the little fairy when she was unwilling to work. In any case, to Sherlock, the little fairy probably would feel more comfortable staying in the field instead of a private rest chamber. Though the 2 rest chambers were not huge projects, they could not be completed in an instant. With the help of Brew, Sherlock selected a few gamers with good construction skills to create 2 rest chambers. Sherlock awarded more bronze coins and reputation points for these missions so that the construction would be completed in the shortest time. The selected gamers were very happy. One of the gamers said as he constructed the chamber, "This dungeon's awesome. We can interact with the environment, and now even the rest chambers are built by us." Once the blacksmith's chamber is complete, I'll try to enter through the windows. If the blacksmith leaves things in the chamber, I might be able to get my hands on them. Simba threw his hammer at the gamer. However, the other gamers were all giving praises. The NPC interaction mechanism was awesome. Time passed while Sherlock made housing arrangements for Simba and Moros. As he was about to check on the expedition status, he heard a commotion coming from the entrance. The 20 gamers who had gone out on the expedition arrived at the dungeon entrance. They brought back 8 dead underground spiders, which were dragged using ropes. Sherlock had not expected them to bring back 8 spiders within a few hours. Besides the spiders, there were 4 gamers' corpses and some injured gamers. They had gone through tough fights. The gamers working in the dungeon saw the victorious expedition group come back with loot and surrounded the victors as they asked excitedly about their experience. Not Wierinkpunt narrated their combat scenes enthusiastically. They didn't have casualties in their first 2 skirmishes. But in the third encounter, there were too many spiders. After 4 gamers were killed and many were injured, they managed to repel the spiders. With the casualties, they did not stay at the spiders' lair entrance. Once the spiders retreated, they immediately returned with their loot and their comrades' corpses. The dead gamers would be revived since creating new characters would void their previous reputation points. They were not willing to give up their hard-earned reputation. While the gamers were celebrating, Sherlock treated the wounded and healed the corpses. He saw the gamers dissect the spiders and concentrate on the stomach. But they were not going for the meat. Previously, they had witnessed Arthur obtaining a strange metal ball from the spider's stomach and appraising it. The gamers wanted to obtain special items from the monsters and unlock hidden plots. Perhaps other spiders had similar items in their bodies. Even if there were no hidden items, the spider's parts could be exchanged for reputation points and rewards. Sherlock had decided on the prices for the spider's parts. For example, 10 kilograms of spider meat could be exchanged for 10 reputation points and 10 bronze coins. The spider leg could be used for food and making weapons. It could be exchanged for 10 reputation points and 10 bronze coins. Spider silk was an important raw material for many items and could be used to improve weapons. A ball of spider silk could be exchanged for 100 reputation points and 100 bronze coins. The production of spider silk was limited and the quantity depended on luck. After collecting the loot from the gamers, Sherlock could produce additional food. He could also give Simba the spider leg and silk to produce high-quality weapons and equipment. Then, he could sell them back to the gamers. In order to obtain better equipment, the gamers would have to complete more missions or hunt for more spiders to gain more money and reputation points. Their actions supported the positive developmental cycle of the dungeon. The gamers dissected the 8 spiders quickly. The spider legs and the meat were arranged neatly by the side, but the spider silk was in low quantity. Sherlock could smell the stench of the spiders from a distance. The gamers were not affected by the smell as they squirmed excitedly into the spider's stomach to see if they could find any treasure. They searched for half a day, but did not find any treasure. At most, they found remnants of the spider's meals. It was not like they could find treasure every time. Sherlock observed the gamers taking stock of their loot. He thought they were going to approach him to exchange the loot for rewards, but the gamers instead held an internal auction for their own expedition members. Spider leg, starting price is 20 bronze coins per piece. Not Wierinkpunt was the auctioneer. The members of the third expedition started bidding and pushed the price to twice the starting price. Arthur bought 5 pieces with his bid of 40 bronze coins per piece. Other rich gamers like Burning Kistair, Sekaran the Meerkat Demon and Sylvanus bought the rest of the spider legs at high prices. The spider's meat was sold at lower prices. The last item was the spider silk. As the quantity was not sufficient to make a ball, the starting price was 80 bronze coins, and the bid price was quickly pushed to 300 bronze coins. In the end, Arthur bought a spider silk. The other gamers witnessed the dungeon's first loot auction and lamented, "My God, the price of a bronze coin is now at least 10 to 20 renminbi. They were that generous, but it's still hard for us to cope. I have to work harder and join the Golden Group 1. It's not easy to get into the Golden Group. Are you able to fight the underground spiders for 2 hours without injury? I'm unable to do that. I must train more, hurry up, carry more bricks and earn more money. I earned my kids' school fees just by carrying bricks. Don't mention it. After the game goes into open beta, I intend to quit my job to be a professional gamer. After playing for a few hours, the bronze coins that I earned are worth much more than what I earn in my day job. You can forget about it. In the beta testing, the number of gamers is small, so the bronze coins are expensive. Once hundreds of gamers come on board, the work rate will skyrocket. Will the bronze coins be expensive? They will definitely become cheaper and cheaper. Earn more while it is still in closed beta. Yes, this is the reason Sherlock could not figure out what was going on as the gamers discussed among themselves. What situation was this? What were the gamers doing? Were they making commercial transactions? Though he had seen the gamers trade their bronze coins before, he had not been bothered. The gamers had been helping a small number of them to raise enough money to buy weapons and equipment in their expedition to the spider's lair. He had not considered that as part of a larger system of commerce. But now, Sherlock was witnessing their trading and auction. After the auction, the 20 gamers of the expedition split the earnings of the auction equally. The gamers who had bought the spider's meat came to look for Sherlock to claim bronze coins and rewards. Sherlock could understand their intentions, but he could not figure out those gamers who had bought the spider's legs and silk at high prices. Did they know the uses of those items? Sherlock intended to use those materials to improve the equipment and then sell them back to the gamers at high prices. Then, he could collect back the metal coins and create a shortage of coins to make the gamers work harder. Sherlock decided to ask Brew about their strange behavior. Brew, do you know why the gamers bypassed my intention of collecting the spider's legs and silk? Instead, they auctioned those items. They are probably stockpiling them. Simba told them that the items can be used to improve equipment. They have great desires for improving their equipment, Brew explained. Sherlock frowned. Those gamers intend to bypass me, stockpile the materials, and then improve their equipment all by themselves. That's correct. This works even better. Let them trade the materials. When they decide to improve their equipment, they have to find Simba. As long as you fix the prices with Simba, you will still collect back the metal coins. In the last few days, I have come up with another plan to exhaust their metal coins faster, Brew said. How about giving the equipment an improvement level? Improvement level. Sherlock was hesitant. Brew explained, after improving equipment, the panel will show a +1 or +2. We can also decide on the number of spider legs and silk for each improvement. Once Simba improves the equipment to a certain level, he can destroy the equipment and claim that the improvement failed. The higher the improvement level, the greater the chance of equipment damage. Once the equipment is damaged, new equipment will be needed and a new cycle of improvement will begin. We earn metal coins more quickly this way than just selling equipment. We can also add another equipment improvement reward like an equipment improvement voucher that can improve the efficiency of the equipment. Furthermore, we can even collect the broken equipment and make new ones out of them before selling them back to the gamers. Sherlock agreed that Bruce's method was brilliant. It would exhaust the gamers' coins rapidly. In addition, the diamond sim material would not be wasted if they collected the damaged equipment. Sherlock accepted Bruce's suggestion and shouted for Simba to discuss the details in the dungeon core main hall. Sherlock explained the details to Simba and requested him to place a new signal board that read equipment improvement at the blacksmith shop entrance. He also indicated the price and the increasing amount of spider legs and silk required for each improvement. The probability of failure would also increase correspondingly. Of course, it was also dependent on Simba and the gamer's mood. Simba could not understand why the dungeon lord would make the equipment improvement that complicated, but he was the boss, so Simba had to follow his instructions. Simba hung up the new signal board at the blacksmith shop entrance. Using spider silk and legs, there were only 5 improvements available. The probability of damage started after 3 levels of improvement. From the 4th improvement onwards, there was an incremental chance of equipment damage. A nearby gamer discovered the new signal board and bolted like a wild dog to the other gamers who were splitting the money. He shouted, "Whoa, a dog's plan for equipment improvement." Sherlock was bewildered by the gamer's scolding. He did not expect the equipment improvement to cause such a violent reaction. Not only was the first gamer who discovered the equipment improvement furious, the other gamers who came up to take a look also started scolding. Done. Finished. We are all done for. I'm having a headache. My liver's in pain. Coming up with equipment improvement? Is he driving us commoners to our death? This D*MNED plan. The gamers had a lot of complaints about the new plan, but Sherlock was nonchalant as the plan had not been made by him. It was Brew. The scolding was meant for Brew. He merely made the decision to implement it. Some gamers hated this plan, while others loved it. A gamer said, "The equipment improvement is pretty good. There's not many choices for equipment. With the equipment improvement, attack and defense will increase. Isn't that good?" That's correct. There is no way to charge our account and there's no marketplace, so it is reasonable to have equipment improvement. The rich gamers will spend money to upgrade their equipment, while we commoners can earn a bit from the equipment improvement. The required materials aren't that much, and there's at most 5 levels of improvement. The probability of damage only starts after 3 levels of improvement. Commoners will be able to reach the 3 levels of improvement easily. There were those who supported it and there were those who disagreed. The 2 factions debated incessantly, and the dungeon became a chatting plaza again. As they were discussing excitedly about the topic, Arthur brought his spider legs and silk to the blacksmith shop. Improve my weapon by a level. Arthur handed 4 spider legs, the required spider silk, and 10 bronze coins to Simba. Simba threw the bronze coins into a chest that was almost filled with metal coins. Once it was fully filled, it would be brought away by Sherlock. Simba threw the short sword, spider legs and the spider silk into the magic furnace. After a short while, he hammered the sword while the gamers watched intensely at the first equipment improvement process. Simba hammered for about 10 minutes. Then, he cooled the short sword before handing it back to Arthur. Arthur took the short sword. Its name had changed to Hiltus Diamond Short Sword +1, ordinary white equipment. Damage, 0-11, weight, 10. Durability, 10. Forger, blacksmith Simba required reputation, dungeon, Eternal Kingdom reputation level 1, basic level. Dungeon Eternal Kingdom's most commonly seen weapon. Forged from diamond seam. As it was a basic improvement, the attack strength was only increased a little bit. There was no change in its appearance. Arthur put his sword away. No matter how the other gamers pleaded to take a look, Arthur ignored them and took his sword to Morrow's. D*MN. That's arrogance. Acting cool. The gamers were criticizing Arthur behind his back as they were unhappy with his aloofness. Notwear Impants came to improve his equipment after Arthur left. He handed his sword, bronze coins and materials to Simba, who threw them into the magic furnace to smelt them. Simba hammered the sword for a while before handing it back to Notwear Impants. Notwear Impants was more cordial than the aloof Arthur. When the gamers gathered around him, he shared the attribute panel for the gamers to see. Many gamers used their fingers to feel the newly improved sword. Other gamers also took out their swords to compare, hoping to find a difference. Most of the gamers were engrossed in the equipment improvement, while the previous gamers who condemned the equipment improvement kept quiet. All of them were busy examining the improved equipment. There were many new features added to the dungeon in the past few days. For example, there was the hiring of the skills trainer Morrows, the construction of the private rest chambers for Morrows and Simba, and the equipment improvement. These features were to be published on the official website. Sherlock did not bother with the gamers. He returned to the dungeon core main hall and edited a new announcement with Bruce's guidance and suggestions. Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom Update Log version 0.01. Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom version 0.01 is officially released. New contents that are online. Added a new skills trainer, Morrows. He was a gnome warrior from Winterfell and a gladiator when he was young. After marriage, he became a security guard at Winterfell Teleport Portal Reception Hall to support his family. He is now a skills trainer at Eternal Kingdom and provides combat training. Each training session lasts 2 hours and costs 100 bronze coins. The rest period between the training sessions is 30 minutes. Added new dungeon construction missions. Morrows and Simba have requested for their private rest chambers. The generous Lord Sherlock has agreed to their requests. The gamers are responsible for constructing Morrows and Simba's private rest chambers. Please do not enter their private rest chambers without permission. Those who enter without permission will be subjected to attacks from the NPCs. Gamers who steal from the NPCs will be blacklisted and will not receive help from NPC. Added new equipment, diamond seam shield. Attribute picture. Added new exchange items. Gamers with spider meat, spider leg, or spider silk can look for Lord Sherlock or Blue to exchange for bronze coins and reputation points. Added equipment improvement system. The equipment available for improvement includes hilted short sword, diamond seam shield, and diamond seam armor. There is a maximum of 5 levels of improvement. The probability of damage starts after level 3. The materials required for improvement are stated on the blacksmith shop's signboard. Sherlock checked the contents of his announcement after he completed the draft. After confirmation, he published it. Many gamers were paying attention to the posts on the official website and discussion forum. The moment Sherlock published his post, it received many replies. I saw Chang Wei beating Lai Fu, updated. I am tempted to play. Why didn't I get beta testing status? Can I buy the beta testing status officially? I'm determined to be a beta gamer. Sundry Merchant, I'm with the previous writer. I'm determined to be a beta gamer too. Not side, not side, not side, not side. Shalai's fanboy, of course, / Fat Hope. Just upgraded to version 0.01. Is the open beta at version 1.0? Will my son be able to play it when he's old? I am currently a third year in junior middle school. Dad's disappointed in you. I'm begging you for open beta. I don't mind internet lag, and I don't mind paying a lot for your services. The updates are too slow. Is it due to lack of employees? Or lack of funds? I'm willing to crowdfund 10,000 renminbi. Pitiful soul, I only care about when the second beta is starting. I got a hold of my dad's, mum's, brother's, and cousin's ID cards to apply for the status. Please, you have to choose me. Sobbing. I am too pretty to die. At Pitiful soul, do you know that the game capsule only allows the ID card's owner to use it? You can't even sell the qualification. Are you bluffing your dad? Blog antagonized you. Wait, is everyone paying attention to the start of equipment improvement in the game? Twisted Vine, it's normal to have an equipment improvement system. Think about it. If you don't charge your account, how do you become stronger? Manual comedy. Liver Emperor, if I don't charge my account, I'll go bald. Degrees. Sherlock was so engrossed in reading the posts that he was unable to walk away. Refresh, click, refresh, click. The entire forum was filled with gamers pleading for open beta. Sherlock wanted to read the beta gamers' comments, but they were submerged by the deluge of newer posts. Sherlock could only scan through the first 3 pages to look for interesting posts. Sherlock discovered a first page post that would always be on the top. The number of replies and clicks kept increasing. The title of the post was simple but eye-catching. It was a gamer called Peasant who wrote the post. Sherlock recalled that Peasant was one of the beta gamers. The full title of the post was Beta Gamer Expose. I discovered a shocking secret of the dungeon. In the discussion forum, whenever the beta gamers published a post, there would be a huge number of replies and clicks. If the content was closely related to Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom, then the responses would be even more frenzied. The post by Peasant had an eye-catching title, Beta Gamer Expose. I discovered a shocking secret of the dungeon. Even Sherlock was puzzled. What shocking secret had he discovered about the dungeon? Sherlock clicked on the post and saw a large photograph. It was a full-body photo of Simba holding a hammer. It looked like he had posed for it. Picture, it was followed by Peasant's post contents. Well, I accidentally discovered an Eternal Kingdom hidden plot. It goes like this. A few days ago, when I was mining and carrying ores, I discovered an adamantine ore vein. Shalai gave me a handsome reward that consisted of a silver coin. A silver coin is equivalent to 1,000 bronze coins. What a windfall, 1,000 reputation points, and a set of armor and a weapon. I intended to use a new pickaxe to mine, but the system did not allow me to do that. When I tried to mine, the system would give me a warning and stop me from mining. Since the ore vein was not mined, there should be a following plot. I thought maybe I had to complete a hidden mission to unlock the hidden plot. After trying for a few days, I discovered the hidden plot. Since it's an ore vein, then it should be related to the blacksmith. I loitered around the blacksmith shop and tried chatting with Simba, but he ignored me. Later, I saw a letter in the blacksmith shop. I secretly took a snapshot for your viewing pleasure. Brother, I went to another dungeon to find work, and I am currently waiting for news. I had just returned home yesterday when I received your letter. Lord Sherlock must be very wealthy to recruit 100 goblins. Could you recommend me to Lord Sherlock again? If only I could work together with you in the Eternal Kingdom. I heard from the don't have the most expensive stuff boss that a merchant band will be setting out tomorrow with a batch of pickaxes and that they will be passing by your dungeon. Mum asked me to pass the pastry to the merchant band to deliver to you. Take care when you work outside. Will you be continuing your contract after 3 months? I am envious of your job. I will work hard. Brother, you have to work hard too. A merchant band will be coming to our dungeon. This must be the follow-up plot of the adamantine ore vein. The batch of pickaxes must be for mining the ore. Maybe we can even do business with this merchant band. Perhaps there will be other missions and chances to accumulate special items or exchange for rare items. It will not be long before the start of the merchant band plot. Do stockpile your bronze coins and materials as you may exchange for good stuff. Volcano Stick King, is the merchant band coming? Seems like a new update is coming. Those who played The Unforgiven are stupid. Can a guide be written on the things that can be exchanged with the merchant band? I would like to take a look. Blazed Fool, I feel like playing the game. Hollander stealing large dragon. I did not expect Simba to have a brother and a mum. The NPC background is too perfect. Is Simba going to work in the Eternal Kingdom for 3 months? I like this NPC a lot. Check calcification. When you play in the open beta and Simba destroys tens of your weapons, you will not like them anymore. Hearthstone Gamer, this is killing me. Only tens of weapons. My weapons that were destroyed in DNF were worth an Audi A6. Farewell after 3 lifetimes, I believe the previous comment. The post had been published less than half an hour ago and already had tens of pages of replies. Sherlock understood what was happening after reading the post. On the second day of work, Simba had recommended his brother for work in Eternal Kingdom. The letter was sent by his brother. Simba had placed it in the blacksmith shop, and the letter was seen by Peasant. Sherlock had not expected the gamers to be that happy about the coming merchant band. However, there were problems. Sherlock was not concerned about the visit of the merchant band. If things went according to his plan, he would let the gamers mine the adamantine ore and would exchange the ore for magic stones. If he needed more magic stones, he would mine more adamantine ore to exchange before bidding farewell to the merchants. When the merchant band arrived, the gamers would ask the merchants a lot of questions, and he would have to give explanations. For example, they could ask, why didn't the merchant band accept bronze coins? Or, where can we obtain the magic stones? How was Sherlock going to explain? He felt that it was a tricky situation. Sherlock did not want the merchant band to know that the goblins were gamers from the other world. However, if the gamers brought their bronze coins and spoke strangely, it would make the merchants suspicious. What if the merchants discovered the gamer's secret? Sherlock had to plan properly to prevent complications, as it could have adverse effects on the dungeon. Sherlock closed the discussion forum on the computer and held his arm as he pondered. He came up with a solution and shouted for Brew. Brew was more knowledgeable about the Underworld's culture. Brew listened quietly to Sherlock and pondered a while before saying, Dungeon Lord, you can package the merchant band's visit as a game activity. Choose an item that is not expensive and available in large quantities. Then, you can let the gamers exchange spider leg, silk, meat and other underground creatures' skin and fur with the merchants for that item. That's correct. I intend to discuss with the merchant band and fix the price of the designated items that the gamers can trade with the merchants. Hence, the magic stones will not be required, and it won't make the merchants suspicious on why we're using metal coins as currency in the dungeon. We can announce this activity on the official website to direct the gamers' actions. As long as they have missions and rewards, they will be happy. This is a feasible solution. Lord Sherlock, you have to discuss the exchange price with the merchants and inform them not to engage in other trades with the gamers, especially the adamantine ores. Specify that only Lord Sherlock or your designated trader can trade in the ore. Brew was worried, so he reminded Sherlock. Don't worry, the merchant band is very principled. They only deal with the dungeon lord and the designated spokesperson, not the servants of the dungeon. This prevents treasure and precious material theft from the dungeon in exchange for magic stones. Brew said immediately, I'll follow your instructions. When the merchant band is near our dungeon, I'll inform you beforehand. Lord Sherlock, try not to choose an expensive item for the gamers to trade. Since the merchant band will only stay for a few days, if it is too expensive, the gamers won't be able to exchange for the items using their basic materials in time. If the mission is out of reach, they will be angry like how they condemned the previous equipment improvement plan. The storage capacity of the merchants is also limited. They might not want to accept large quantities of spider legs and meat. Sherlock nodded. Like what Brew said, he had to consider the merchant's capacity and their limits. The details had to be ironed out during the discussion with the merchant band. Sherlock confirmed his plans, and with Brew's help, he published a new announcement on the official website. Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom Beta Testing Activity Advance Notice, Winterfell Merchant Band. All gamers, Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom, the beta testing has been carried out smoothly for half a month. We have gradually rolled out new features, functional NPCs, new settings, areas and equipment improvement. The beta testing has also included weapons, armor, shields, character fatigue, death penalty and combat system. The response towards this game is very enthusiastic. The production team would like to express our gratitude and joy. Thank you for validating our efforts. New announcement, the Winterfell Merchant Band. The merchant band from Winterfell will be staying in our dungeon for a few days. We will open up a new item exchange service and release details of the exchanged items on the official website and forum. Please kindly wait in anticipation and prepare to work very hard. Sherlock checked the contents of the announcement. After confirming there were no errors, he published the announcement. Sherlock's announcement and Peasant's post created a huge discussion in the forum like a stone cast into the lake. An hour ago, the gamers had digested Peasant's post on the merchant band, and now the official website had published an activity notice. The gamers' imagination ran wild, and various posts appeared on the forum, speculating whether the Peasant is a lackey of the official game. I boldly predict that there will be an account transaction channel for the first activity of the beta testing. Prices of the materials will skyrocket. Those who used up the materials to improve equipment will regret it. Shock. Why is the open beta delayed? Beside these analyses and some superficial and nonsensical posts, there were many practical strategy guides. Burning Kister published a post, strategy guide for a minimum 5-person team to kill a lone spider. This was the first detailed post on combat strategy by a beta gamer. Not we Ringpunts concentrated on the figures and setting strategy guide. For example, he calculated the required time to carry bricks in order to buy equipment in the shortest time. He also analyzed the prices and market economy of the items. In the end, he published tens of posts, and each had over 10,000 replies. Sherlock had read the posts and did not agree with Not we Ringpunts figures, but he was impressed by Burning Kister's post on detailed teamwork and the spider's weak points. Reading forum posts could be addictive. Sherlock had intended to publish a few announcements and take a look at the gamers' comments and suggestions. Then, as he browsed through the forum, he discovered that the gamers were geniuses. He became engrossed in the excitement. He loved it. While Sherlock was addicted to the discussion forum, the beta gamers had completed Simba and Moro's rest chambers. The fourth expedition into the spider's lair had returned to the dungeon. This expedition was larger than the previous one. Those who dared to face the spiders had joined the expedition. As most of them were experienced, they had come back quickly, and there was twice as much loot as the previous time. However, the number of gamers' corpses had also increased. The gamers had dragged their comrades' corpses and the spider carcasses as they marched merrily into the dungeon. They were extremely pleased with their loot. It was not the first time Moro saw the gamers being nonchalant about death. He was always envious of them. Which warrior wouldn't want to have their fearlessness? No matter how dangerous it was, they were fearless. To obtain the same benefits of the goblins, Moros had to prove himself and obtain the dungeon lord's approval. The first thing the gamers did was to auction the loot. As before, the profits were split equally among the expedition members. They had seen Sherlock's notice on the merchant band, so the auction price of the spider's loot became higher. The gamers were starting to stockpile materials in anticipation of the merchant band's arrival. The gamers also brought back killer vines. The fourth expedition group had breached the spider's lair entrance and had gone inside. If not, they would not have been able to obtain the killer vines. Killer vines were much easier to kill since their mobility and attack strength were inferior to the spiders. Sherlock helped them heal their injuries and revive the corpses. After observing their auction, he went back to settling the dungeon's affairs. He was extremely busy planning for the dungeon, assigning the gamers missions and rewards and uptimes, being Moros and Simba's psychiatrists. They had a heavy workload and lived with the Underworld's gamers in the same dungeon. It was normal to be stressed. More importantly, Sherlock had to browse the discussion forum to keep track of the Underworld's public opinion and trends. He also had to gather feedback on improving the dungeon. Sherlock was thinking too much. He used it to be carefree, but after recruiting Moros, the gamers' capability had improved by leaps and bounds, especially after the 30 successful expedition. Their strategy of forming small teams to deal with the spiders had become widespread. They had become better at handling the spiders, and their combat skills were now very seasoned. They were fearless in battle, and after confirming their battle plans, they would execute them with a self-sacrificing attitude. That kind of fearlessness could not be found on the surface and Underworld. The spiritual monsters were also fearless, but their intellect and teamwork were inferior to the Otherworld's gamers. Sherlock was not bragging, he was stating the truth. Sherlock was pleased. His Otherworld servants saved him money. They were diligent, fearless, curious, easy to manage and did not have lots of requirements. They could be revived unlimited times. He was the only dungeon lord to have such servants. However, there were problems. Sherlock's leisure time dwindled. When Sherlock was planning the future development of the dungeon. Dungeon Lord, please help revive a gamer. When Sherlock was counseling the troubled Simba, who was being harassed by the gamers at night. Dungeon Lord, please help revive a gamer. When Sherlock was browsing the discussion forum. Dungeon Lord, please help to heal a gamer. When Sherlock was Dungeon Lord, please help revive a gamer. Dungeon Lord, please help to heal a gamer. Dungeon Lord, I'm exchanging my reputation points. Dungeon Lord, Sherlock could not take it anymore. With the increasing incursions into the spider's lair, the casualties skyrocketed. Sherlock was the only person with healing and revival ability, so the heavy responsibility was on him. Previously there were few expeditions into the spider's lair. At most, they would form large groups to venture, and Sherlock would heal the injured once every 2 days. As the gamers' combat skills and experience increased, they formed smaller groups to explore the lair. Sherlock had to heal or revive the gamers every few hours. Sherlock did not understand why the group size dwindled. Logically speaking, the larger the group, the safer it was. Did they not rely on their superior numbers to defeat the spiders? After observing how they formed groups to hunt, Sherlock finally understood the reason for creating smaller groups. First, small groups could avoid those rich gamers who used their renminbi to exchange for bronze coins to buy materials. The normal gamers could not compare to the rich gamers. With a smaller group, they had the chance to buy the materials, stockpile or sell for a higher price. Second, smaller groups were more agile. Some gamers could be hunting for the entire day or disband their group after a few hours. The expedition timing was easier to coordinate with smaller groups than for large groups. Third, there were more ways of distributing loot. Sherlock witnessed a group of 5 gamers using stone dice to distribute their loot. This was called the group distribution method. Using auction to distribute loot was called the auction distribution method. When they were recruiting group members in the training ground, they would specify the distribution method, the recruitment count and requirements. The training ground had become the gamers' multi-purpose location for chatting, forming groups and socializing. Sherlock observed that after the gamers had awakened, come online, they would carry bricks to increase their reputation and bronze coins. Then, they would go to the training ground to listen to news, check for good deals and assess whether there were suitable expedition groups to join. Even when they slept, went offline, they would be close to the training ground. As the gamers became more familiar with the spider's lair and chance terrain and strategies, the smaller-sized groups became popular, but they were limited to the entrance area. Exploring deeper into the lair required more gamers since there were more spiders in the interior. Sherlock's workload increased exponentially, and he was exhausted. He pondered whether he should employ a healing and revival magician. When the merchant band came, he could ask the merchant leader if there were suitable candidates. Bruce said to Sherlock, Dungeon Lord, there's a group of people approaching us. I feel that they could be the Winterfell merchant band. Sherlock looked towards Winterfell and observed the group using manner. About half an hour's journey away, a long group advanced towards the dungeon. He was not worried that the merchant band would meet with the gamers as the gamers could only access the spider's lair tunnel. The path that the merchant band was taking was closed. Sherlock asked Brew to manage the dungeon while he walked towards a huge door. The gamers were busy with their missions, but some were paying attention to Sherlock when he walked out of the dungeon core main hall. More and more gamers paid attention to Sherlock when he walked by the blacksmith shop and past the training ground that had 20 to 30 trainees. Where's Shalai going? Don't know. I haven't seen Shalai going in that direction before. Could it be the Winterfell merchant band plot is starting? Possibly. Shalai has seldom ventured out of the main hall. Don't miss the plot. Don't miss the plot. The gamers chatted loudly and didn't care if Sherlock could hear them. Moros, who was training the gamers, was puzzled. Moros was already used to their incessant chattering all the time, but the gamers were casually chatting in front of Sherlock. And Sherlock didn't seem to care. It seemed to Moros that the goblins were important to Sherlock. Otherwise, Sherlock would not have revived the goblins and put up with their insolent behavior. Moros was determined to win Sherlock's favor. Sherlock was used to their chattering. The goblins were much better now since they only watched him. Initially, when the goblins had come to the dungeon, they had followed him everywhere and chatted non-stop. Sherlock's behavior was attracting attention because the goblins were aware that the Winterfell merchant band was coming. Sherlock ignored the gamers who were following him and chattering, but that did not indicate he would allow them to follow him. Sherlock walked through the magical barrier of the exit doorway, but the gamers were unable to do so. They were barred behind the doorway and were disappointed. Sherlock walked in the tunnel for 20 minutes before encountering the merchant band. There were about 50 members in the merchant band, which consisted mainly of orcs. There were some goblins and gnomes in charge of hard labor. The merchant band had 30 large carts that were pulled by large beetles. When the group moved in the tunnel, smoke and dust could be seen from far away. The merchant band noticed Sherlock and came to a halt. A tall and pale vampire came forward and shouted, "We are the merchant band from Winterfell. We are under the protection of the Merchant Alliance." Sherlock was stunned. Then, he remembered he was a devil appearing in front of the merchant band. They must have thought that he was going to rob them. Don't be mistaken. I'm the Eternal Kingdom's Dungeon Lord, Sherlock. I'm here to welcome you. Welcome to my dungeon. Sherlock smiled as the vampire heaved a sigh of relief and bowed. I'm the leader of the merchant band, Baron Nicholas. My utmost respect to the Dungeon Lord. I've heard of your fame. We're definitely honored to be welcomed by you. Sherlock did not have good impressions of these polite vampires. Though they looked gentlemanly, they only had 2 things in mind. One was to suck your blood, and second was to suck again. I'm flattered. I have things to discuss with you. Sherlock laughed casually and took out his proposal, beta testing activity, Winterfell merchant band. The content was written using the Underworld's norms. Baron Nicholas was puzzled as he took the proposal and browsed through. The contents were about the trading rules. First, during the merchant band stay at the Eternal Kingdom dungeon, magic stones transactions will take place only with Sherlock and the merchants. Second, the merchants may only barter items allowed by Sherlock with his servants. The merchants are not allowed to barter other items with his servants. If magic stones are involved, the first point should be considered. Third, do not have too much interaction with the dungeon servants. The Eternal Kingdom has provided sufficient space for the merchant band to rest. Please do not wander around. Fourth, if the servants ask strange questions or harass you, please do not be bothered. They mean no harm and are not trying to trick you. They are just curious. Please do not beat them up. It may lead to violent conflict and the dismissal from the Eternal Kingdom. Please ignore them. Most of them will be tired of asking questions after 3 days. Their curiosity will wane. Fifth, you may have lots of questions about Eternal Kingdom and have a deep curiosity, but please do not ask or approach the servants for answers. Please restrain yourselves. Sixth, the Eternal Kingdom will provide sumptuous meals for the merchant band during your stay. You may also choose your own meals. The following are the list of food items and their prices. Spider leg enclave set meal, 1 magic stone for 3 days, 20 persons share. Meat with ground organs, 1 magic stone for 3 days, 20 persons share. Lord Sherlock reserves all rights to the final interpretation of the rules. Nicholas had joined the Merchant Alliance for many years and visited many dungeons. He was also good friends with many devil lords. They regularly went out to drink some blood or beat up some creatures. They were that close. Nicholas was a professional merchant. Signing trading agreements between dungeons and merchants was not a big deal, but it was the first time Nicholas had seen such strange trading terms. The first condition was not a problem as most trades were like that. The second condition was understandable. Some generous dungeon lords allowed their servants to trade with the merchant band. Nicholas welcomed it since he could get good prices for exquisite items from the servants. But it was the first time he had to barter. The third condition was understandable as Sherlock was perhaps a wealthy dungeon lord. According to news from Don't Have the most expensive stuff blacksmith shop, though Sherlock did not have many magic stones, there were lots of servants in the dungeon. Nicholas thought that this term was to prevent the merchants from tempting the servants to revolt. The fourth condition was strange but understandable as it was similar to the third term. It was written in a solemn manner, but Nicholas did not think that the servants would harass him. He was a baron vampire, though he was not as noble as the first vampire and was inferior to Devil Sherlock. Normally, Underworld creatures did not dare to go near him, ask him strange questions or harass him. When he showed his dominance, they normally kneeled on the ground and trembled. Nicholas found the fifth condition funny. The Devil Lord looked young, and Nicholas thought that Sherlock was hiding his age. Upon scrutiny, Sherlock was really young. All the merchants who had joined the Merchant Alliance were capable and experienced merchants. Though Nicholas did not have the means for his own dungeon, he had seen lots of dungeons. He has seen poor dungeons, bustling dungeons and even Winterfell-like dungeons. How could he be curious about Eternal Kingdom? He had seen his own share of weird dungeons. However, he could not afford to offend Sherlock, so he did not show his true thoughts. Questions about Eternal Kingdom. Strong curiosity, fat hope. Nicholas stopped looking at the sixth term halfway. That food was Goblin's food, which was both expensive and not tasty. Lord Sherlock was trying to rip off his merchant band. There weren't any issues with the rest of the conditions. Nicholas signed his name on the agreement and shook hands with Sherlock. The contract was in effect. Nicholas showed his professional smile. I can't wait to visit your dungeon and form deep friendships with you and your servants, Dungeon Lord. Sherlock asked for elegant Nicholas trading goods. The first items were the 10 Hades pickaxes from the Don't Have the most expensive stuff blacksmith shop. They could be used to mine adamantine and cost 500 magic stones. Sherlock did not have that many magic stones, so he planned to pay for it using the adamantine ores. He could also test the quality of the pickaxes in the process. The merchant band brought along many items from both the surface world and Underworld. Sherlock took a bunched-up shroud that smelled like sunshine. Nicholas explained, according to rumors, this is a shroud from the surface Holy Lord, but we have not confirmed this. From the number of holy incantations on the shroud, it can be deduced that this shroud was used by a bishop or higher. If it was held by a grand priest, its magical properties would be greatly enhanced. Though it is of no interest to the Underworld, the elites of the surface world are very interested in the shroud. If used as a blanket, it can make a person happy for the whole day. The price is not expensive. It's only 2,000 magic stones. I don't need it. I'm quite practical. Sherlock put down the shroud. He thought it was too expensive to be a leg-washing rag. Were the elites that opulent? The rag already cost 2,000 magic stones. Sherlock did not look at the crown, swords and books from Monroe Institute as their prices would be astronomical. To a devil, they were trash. Nicholas, your goods are pretty good. Are there goods suitable for servants of dungeons? Sherlock skipped the expensive goods and inquired. Suitable for servants? Yes, I have some. Nicholas brought Sherlock to a large cart and said, Lord Sherlock, these goods are suitable for servants, and the price is reasonable. Are there any goods that you find suitable? Sherlock found a few suitable goods. He did not require lots of items for the gamers to exchange as there were only 100 gamers. As long as 80 gamers could exchange for the goods, it was sufficient. As for which goods to choose, it would depend on how many materials the merchant band could purchase. I find these pretty good. As for which ones, I'll let my servants decide. I would like to find out whether you are willing to purchase materials from underground spiders, killer vines and dire wolves. If you do, how much can you purchase? Sherlock asked. We are interested in those materials, but your dungeon is newly developed. Shouldn't you also need them? Wait, maybe I can understand. You must have purchased all these materials. We aren't able to carry large quantities of those materials. Nicholas was sure Sherlock was a wealthy devil lord as he had purchased the dungeon, recruited 100 goblins for development and making equipment, and even bought all these materials. As the number of newly developed dungeons increased, the prices of these basic materials were inflated. Sherlock had bought all of his required materials and now was able to sell off the excess. Sherlock's dungeon definitely had a certain combat strength. His servants were probably at the gnome level, but only a level 2 dungeon could summon gnomes. Maybe Sherlock had bought 2 dungeons and combined them into a single level 2 dungeon. Then, Sherlock would have to arm the gnomes, which would require lots of money. Sherlock's dungeon had only been around for less than half a month. Was the Eternal Kingdom not developing fast? Scary. This devil lord Sherlock was terrifying. Nicholas was sure Sherlock was very rich. You can't take a lot. Sherlock was in a dilemma. His original plan had been to let the gamers exchange the basic materials for designated goods. If the merchants could only purchase a small amount, then he had to consider other options. No, we would like to purchase all the basic materials. If the quantity is large, we will have to depend on your servants to transport them back to our shop at Winterfell. Then, we can sell the basic materials in town. If you are willing to help, I'll pay you 10 magic stones, Nicholas requested. Sherlock understood the merchant's difficulty. As merchants, they had to be efficient and could not afford to carry the basic materials that took up space and slowed them down. Sending these basic materials to a large market for wholesale was logical. Why don't you use your merchant band's laborers? Sherlock was puzzled and asked. Dungeon Lord, my warehouse is very far. If the material quantity is large, the time taken would be long. The bodyguard servants are not cheap and cost more than 10 magic stones for half a day. I don't have powerful manner to transport a large number of crew and materials. The cost would be astronomical. I'm willing to offer 15 magic stones for your help. Sherlock smiled and patted Nicholas' arm. Baron Nicholas, you're too formal. We are like friends, so don't talk about money. This is a simple task. Could the 15 magic stones be used to offset the cost of the pickaxes? Sherlock spoke cordially to Nicholas while leading the merchant band to the Eternal Kingdom. Sherlock also confirmed the prices of the basic materials and the designated merchant goods for his servants to barter. When Sherlock brought Nicholas back to the dungeon, the gamers had already discovered the smoky and dusty merchant band approaching the dungeon. Nobody trained or carried bricks as they gathered for the arrival of the merchant band. They were afraid of missing the activity plot. Lord Sherlock, your servants are very hospitable, Nicholas commented as he noticed the peering goblins at the dungeon entrance. Nicholas and Sherlock were on the seats atop the front beetleman. Besides the goblins' hospitality, what else could Nicholas say? If he said that the goblins did not have discipline, would Sherlock not be embarrassed? They're always like that. Hope that you won't be shocked. Sherlock was composed and did not appear embarrassed. The gamers had done far worse deeds. What was the big deal with just looking? Nicholas was speechless. The merchant band arrived at the dungeon entrance. Following Sherlock's lead, the merchant band entered the dungeon. The merchant band consisted of many huge cargo carts pulled by gigantic beetlemans, dark-skinned orcs with large fangs wielding large hammers or swords, a group of sharp-nosed, sharp-eared gnomes, furry werewolves and a stitch. The surrounding gamers exclaimed in shock. Holy cow, awesome, are we able to select those creatures? What's that stitched monster? How strong is the backing of this game? They can pass the censors. Don't think too much, it's only in beta testing. The actual version will be censored. I thought underground spiders were terrifying enough. Seeing them, spiders are like little brothers. Who said this game was boring? Can't you see that there's riding and transportation tools? Awesome, oh my god, tonight's forum is going to explode. The nuclear explosion already went off. Not Wearingpants is posting now. Nicholas could not understand what the goblins were saying. The language was the same, but the phrases were entirely different. Sherlock, who was atop the beetleman, raised his hand and said, "Keep quiet, citizens of Eternal Kingdom. These are our guests. Please mind your manners." The gamers did not talk loudly, but their faces were aghast. As the merchant band entered the dungeon, Nicholas noticed that a few nearby goblins were staring at the beetlemans without blinking. While he was thinking that the goblins were country bumpkins, a goblin charged out and tried to climb onto a beetleman. His leap was not high enough as the size difference was too great, and he fell in front of the beetleman's path. Pom! The front leg of the beetleman stepped on something and squished it. Nicholas stood up and looked in shock below the beetleman. He had just entered the dungeon, and his beetleman had squished one of Sherlock's servants. The face of Nicholas was as pale as a sheet. The polite Baron Nicholas could not help shouting, "S***it." Due to the unexpected accident, the merchant band came to a halt. The beetleman that was involved in the accident appeared frightened. After that pom sound that indicated flesh being squished, crimson blood spewed out and formed a pool of blood underneath the beetleman's leg. The beetleman looked at its leg and felt uncomfortable with the sticky liquid. After lifting its leg, the beetleman looked at the mess underneath its leg before putting its leg back, making a pa-ta sound. Not only was the entire merchant band as silent as the graveyard, even the whispering gamers were quiet. Sherlock thought they were not anxious or angry, but rather was stifling their laughter. Not Wearingpants peered out and looked at the stopped merchant band. He shouted, "What's happening?" I posted at the discussion forum. What did I miss? The previously silent gamers immediately started chattering. Peasant was squished by a moving NPC. It's too realistic. That pool of blood, it's peasant. Can a squish goblin be saved? Doctor. D***MN, are you trying to kill me with laughter so that you can inherit my +2 short sword? Ha 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 ha. The quiet gamers became boisterous and burst into a series of laughter. Nicholas did not understand why the goblins were laughing casually when their comrade had been squished. He was not laughing. He looked at the frowning Sherlock with his pale face. He had not expected things to turn out this way and said to Sherlock, Lord Sherlock, this is tricky. I didn't expect such things to happen. I don't blame you. The goblin is responsible for being careless. Sherlock frowned and looked unhappy. Nicholas thought that the matter was more than being careless. The goblin had been squished. It was meaningless to shirk responsibility. Fortunately, Lord Sherlock was not angry. In order for them to maintain their business relationship, Nicholas thought he had to express his sorrow. Lord Sherlock, I'm willing to compensate your loss and the goblin's family. I'll not make things difficult for you, Nicholas said. This is not your fault, but the magic stone's compensation should be sufficient for his grandpa, grandma, parents, wife, tens of children and a bedridden sister to live comfortably. Sherlock sighed and looked helpless. What? Grandpa, grandma, parents, wife and tens of children. Why was the bedridden sister included? Though the expenses of the goblin was not huge, his family consisted of 20 members and a bedridden sister, and they had to live comfortably. Consider the pension of his grandpa, grandma and parents to be 500 magic stones. His 15 children would be awarded 1,500 magic stones for education and living expenses. As for compensation of the foregone earnings, a goblin's salary was 5 magic stones a month, 60 magic stones a year. Assuming that the goblin would work for 30 more years, that would be 1,800 magic stones. Psychological loss and funeral expenses would be 200 magic stones. With all those miscellaneous costs, it would be 4,000 magic stones. If his bedridden sister was included, that would cost an additional 1,000 magic stones. Big trouble. Though 5,000 magic stones was a small pittance to Nicholas, it made his trip to Eternal Kingdom unprofitable. He had only intended to compensate 100 magic stones, but it turned out worse than he had expected. Nicholas' first instinct was that Sherlock was ripping him off. Most dungeon servants who accidentally died were given a fixed compensation according to position and capability. For the lowly goblins, 50 magic stones was considered excessive. Nicholas was only willing to pay 100 magic stones so that he could maintain a good relationship with Sherlock. He was wary because he felt Sherlock was ripping him off. Baron Nicholas, I know your difficulties. It's not easy to make a living traveling all over the places, and the magic stones are your hard-earned money. As the Dungeon Lord of Eternal Kingdom, I have to bear some responsibility. You'll pay 200 magic stones as a token and I'll bear the rest. Oh, it's a few thousand magic stones. Sherlock noticed Nicholas' pale face and sighed. Wait, Lord Sherlock, you intend to pay a few thousand magic stones? Perhaps this is your first dungeon and you don't understand. The compensation for a goblin's death is at most 50 magic stones. Nicholas was shocked. Even a wealthy lord would not pay out a few thousand magic stones for death compensation casually. Though it's my first time as a dungeon lord, I know the norms. Everyone's benign my position, and they frequently comment on and criticize my actions. I spent a lot of time reading their feedback. Though I have recruited many servants, there's still a queue with tens of thousands of applicants for my dungeon. My head is almost bursting. I'm unable to recruit them now, but I will need them in the future. This is the first goblin accident, and I have to set a proper precedent so that my servants will work with ease, Sherlock explained as Nicholas became more astonished. Tens of thousands of applicants. Lots of people were paying attention and discussing the dungeon. Is Sherlock that wealthy, and that famous? Could he be a descendant of a noble? Could he be the son of Satan? Nicholas trembled at his thoughts. If he were Satan's son, or a similar second-generation devil, it was understandable that Sherlock would be generous. His dungeon was developing fast, and he could recruit that many goblins. Nicholas was puzzled why Sherlock had developed his dungeon in such a poor, desolate and dangerous place with so few magic stones. Nicholas supposed that Sherlock must have been chided by his parents who had said, here are tens of thousands of magic stones. Go forge your own destiny. Sherlock must have been chased out by his parents to experience the commoner's life and their challenge. If Sherlock was that wealthy, magic stones would be like normal stones that he could toss away casually. Nicholas began to understand and thought it was highly possible. If he could continue to do business with Sherlock and become his lackey, Nicholas saw a bright vision of his future. Respectable dungeon lord Nicholas. He could become a noble vampire with his own dungeon. He would have the same status as the devils. Nicholas had been unwilling to pay 200 magic stones initially. He hadn't wanted to pay more than 100 magic stones. After thinking of his future, he was now even willing to pay 2,000 magic stones. Of course, there was also the possibility that Lord Sherlock was bluffing and trying to scam him out of his magic stones. However, Nicholas felt that spending 200 magic stones for the peace of mind and potential fortune was worth it. Paying 200 magic stones was like plucking a hair. It gave him a chance to enter the dungeon peacefully. Nicholas would take his time to find out about Sherlock's background. At this thought, he felt relieved. Nicholas did not believe that a devil lord would be that unscrupulous just to scam him of 200 magic stones. Sherlock could not be that poor. Lord Sherlock, pardon my mistake. Please pass the 200 magic stones to his family. Though it's little, it's a small token to express my regret. Nicholas took out his magic stones card and transferred 200 magic stones to Sherlock. After confirming the transfer, Sherlock said confidently, of course, don't you worry. The 200 magic stones are not for me. It's compensation for his family. I'll send them to his family as soon as possible. Everyone pretended that nothing had happened. With Sherlock's lead, the 50-member merchant band brought along 30 large carts and beetlements to the newly excavated space originally intended for the gamers' rest chambers. The space would be used temporarily by the merchant band. The squished corpse of peasant was thrown to one side by the other gamers who cleaned up the area. Eternal Kingdom was particular about cleanliness. Everyone was happy. Nicholas was smiling merrily, and he understood why the surrounding goblins had burst into laughter. He was sure Sherlock was no ordinary devil. It was understandable that the servants of such a high-status devil lord would exhibit insane behavior. Sherlock had bruised up all nearby mining missions and cordoned off the restricted area. This was to prevent the gamers from coming near. Within the dungeon, Sherlock's orders to the Underworld's goblins were still effective. To the gamers, the restricted area was like a transparent wall that repulsed them. Nicholas thanked Sherlock for his hospitality and brought his merchant band to their resting place. The gamers were curious about the Winterfell merchant band, but their resting area was restricted. Even if the gamers wanted to take a look, they were unable to enter. Once the merchant band was nicely settled in, Sherlock assigned adamantine or mining missions. Then, he made the sign board for the reward exchange activity. Sherlock finished his sign board and went to look for Nicholas. He requested Nicholas to take out the little goods that he had selected and place them at the room's entrance like a shop selling goods. He reminded Nicholas to barter with the goblins at the determined prices. Sherlock reiterated the contents of their signed agreement and asked Nicholas to discuss the issues of magic stones with him. He told Nicholas to ignore his servants' weird behavior. Sherlock explained that the goblins had gone through special training since they were young, so they lacked common knowledge. Nicholas did not believe his explanation. But he acceded to his request since he wanted to foster a deeper relationship with Sherlock. The merchant band showcased their wares on nicely decorated racks covered with a tablecloth. It looked like a fair out in the wild. While the merchant band was busy, Sherlock put up his prepared sign board at the merchant band rest area's entrance. Activity notice, Winterfell merchant band activity. Baron Nicholas from Winterfell and his merchant band will be staying in Eternal Kingdom for 3 days. To express gratitude for Lord Sherlock's hospitality, Baron Nicholas will trade with the Eternal Kingdom citizens. Please take note that the Baron is not interested in metal coins. He is only interested in materials from wild beasts. Exchange items, Winter's sun hat. Item description, Winterfell tailor shop sun hat. It is able to provide shade and is Winterfell's favorite item. It is purely for ornamental use. Barter requirement, dungeon, Eternal Kingdom reputation level 1, basic level. Barter items, 50 units of spider leg, spider meat, direwolf skin, killervine's bark, 5 units of spider silk. Quantity, 50, while stocks last. Goblin tuxedo, item description, the tuxedo was made in the Winterfell tailor shop. Only highly educated goblins wear it as it symbolizes butler status. It is purely for ornamental use. Barter requirement, dungeon, Eternal Kingdom reputation level 1, basic level. Barter items, 80 units of spider leg, spider meat, direwolf skin, killervine's bark, 8 units of spider silk. Quantity, 10, while stocks last. Winterfell Diamond Short Sword, ordinary white equipment. Damage, 0-15 weight, 12. Durability, 10. Forger, Winterfell, unknown blacksmith. Item description, Winterfell's most common weapon made from diamond seam. It has a wooden hilt and has greater damage than the Eternal Kingdom's short sword. Barter requirement, dungeon, Eternal Kingdom reputation level 2, reputation points needed, 10,000. Barter items, 300 units of spider leg, spider meat, direwolf skin, killervine's bark, 30 units of spider silk. Quantity, 10, while stocks last. Winterfell short bow, ordinary white equipment. Long range damage, 0-10 close range damage, 0-3. Attack range, 100 meters weight, 8. Durability, 10 bowyer, Winterfell, unknown bowyer. Item description, Winterfell's commonly seen weapon made of underground pine wood and specially woven spider silk. Barter requirement, dungeon, Eternal Kingdom reputation level 2, reputation points needed, 10,000. Barter items, 500 units of spider leg, spider meat, direwolf skin, killervine's bark, 50 units of spider silk. Quantity, 10, while stocks last. Small cloth bag, ordinary white equipment. Weight, 0.1 durability, 10 capacity, 20 units. Item description, made by Winterfell's tailor. Suitable for daily use. Its capacity is small but better than nothing. Barter requirement, dungeon, Eternal Kingdom reputation level 2, reputation points needed, 10,000. Barter items, 100 units of spider leg, spider meat, direwolf skin, killervine's bark, 10 units of spider silk. Quantity, 20, while stocks last. On the activity signal board, the only available items for bartering were Winter's Sun Hat, Goblin Tuxedo, Winterfell Diamond Seam Short Sword, Winterfell Short Bow, and Small Cloth Bag. These 5 items were chosen because of their cheap prices and practicality. Though the merchant band had other cheap items, they were not suitable. For example, there were decorative candlesticks, plates, knives and forks. These items were not useful to the goblins. The 5 pieces of equipment were also selected based on Bruce's suggestions. Other items were too expensive and impossible to barter within 3 days, while other items were not practical, like the chicken ribs decorative items. Nicholas could not understand why Sherlock wanted to spend time making such a signal board. And the names and figures on the board, were they referring to Nicholas' goods? He had a lot of questions, but he could not ask them due to the 5th term in the agreement. The gamers noticed that Sherlock had placed a signal board at the entrance to the merchant band's camp. They gathered and started chatting. Nicholas thought that the goblins would have lots of questions like him. After reading the signal board, the goblins shouted, "Form new groups. Form new groups. I'm an experienced mount with 3 incursions into the spider's lair. My best record is fighting 2 underground spiders. I can be a deputy mount. My equipment is complete and my combat skills are seasoned. I am good with roll group or golden group. I am ready to go. Mount, main tank responsible for baiting aggro. Roll group, rolling dice to distribute equipment. Buying spider silk at high prices. Buying all materials. Those selling, shout for me. I can pay with renminbi, who has already gained 10,000 reputation points and has reached reputation level 2. Help me exchange for a small cloth bag. I have materials. The commission is 1,000 renminbi or 100 bronze coins. I can pay first. Recruiting 4 fighters, 100 bronze coins for an hour. Minimum of 5 hours for the expedition. Calling for fighters. I am flexible with the rolls. Finally, the bag. I want it a lot. I'm looking to join the group. Highly skilled. I cannot be attacked because I am not brave. Wah, D***MN. Can you lower your volume? I'm playing this game in secret. The goblins who were reading the signal board quietly broke out into a frenzy in front of Nicholas. Except for a small group of goblins that ran in the same direction, the other goblins shouted at the top of their voice and said things that Nicholas did not understand. What were they saying? Sherlock was used to the gamers' self-organization and trading behavior. Fortunately, he did not have to explain to Nicholas because of their agreement. Nicholas had to abide by the terms to not to ask questions. Sherlock wanted to know the gamers' feedback on the merchant band activity in the official forum. Their comments were more interesting than the Baron. Sherlock gave words of encouragement to Nicholas and left. Nicholas looked dazedly at the goblins. A goblin whose head was showing Rainto appeared in front of him. Nicholas could not understand the green Chinese words as he did not have access to the Underworld's internet to learn Chinese. The goblin Rainto said timidly, I want to exchange a small cloth bag. The goblin was holding 10 units of spider silk. Behind Rainto was a goblin whose head had the words Arthur. Nicholas saw Arthur give many bronze coins to Rainto. Arthur was the goblin that had been searching for a helper to buy a small cloth bag. Rainto pocketed the bronze coins carefully as though they were treasures. Nicholas was dumbfounded. He could not understand what was going on. It was as if they were role-playing. They spouted nonsense and seemed to use the pieces like bronze coins for business transactions. The point was that the goblins treated the bronze coins like precious magic stones. What was going on in the dungeon? Nicholas was bursting with questions, but he could not ask them because of the 5th term in the agreement. Do not ask. Hold back. The Eternal Kingdom's chatting plaza moved from the training ground to the main hall outside the merchant band's rest point entrance. Nicholas learned new things about the goblins. A nearby goblin was eating spider meatballs while sitting down, and another goblin asked him, have you had your meal? I haven't eaten. I'll be having my meal soon. I'm forming an expedition group. Have your meal before coming. I'll reserve 1 spot for you. The activity lasts only for 3 days, so we are going to adventure through the night. Good. The goblin who had just eaten the spider meatballs fell to the ground. He only took a second to fall asleep. 10 minutes later, he awakened. He shouted at a group of goblins, chest air. I've finished my meal. What was that? Insanity. If Nicholas had not signed the agreement with Sherlock, he would have captured a goblin to see what went wrong in his skull. While Nicholas was troubled by the gamer's weird behavior, Sherlock had finished editing the details of the Winterfell Merchant Band activity notice and published it in the official forum. The official forum was abuzz with posts about the Winterfell Merchant Band. Most of the posts were speculations by non-beta gamers. The most popular posts were the 2 posts by Not Wearing Pants, pictures and explanation of Winterfell Merchant Band's arrival, and detailed analysis of Winterfell Merchant Band activity. One of the posts had been published 2 hours ago around the time the Merchant Band had arrived. Not we Rinkmans wanted as much attention as possible, so he had published the post with many pictures as quickly as possible. Because of the rush to post first, there were only pictures and a few words. However, the number of replies was overwhelming. The second post had been published after Sherlock posted details in the public announcement. The replies were modest, but the post was pushed to the top and became extremely popular. Greetings, it's me, Not we Rinkmans. I previously published the Winterfell Merchant Band pictures. I am now adding pictures. We were shocked beyond description by the Winterfell Merchant Band. I wish that the game would upgrade sooner and release more races. Wow, those stitches were grotesque. One of these days, I hope to play as one. In this activity, we were shown several possible races and a new transportation mode, albeit a four-legged beast with a long shell. This beast can squish gamers with its feet like the lift in Gloom City squishing people. This is not unusual as a wall can kill a suicide gamer. There is no reason why a huge beast cannot squish a goblin. Perhaps some of you might not know about the lift in Gloom City squishing people. You might want to search on Baidu. In addition to the official details, I will do a detailed analysis according to my understanding. First, the activity lasts for 3 days. The items that can be bartered for are Winter's Sun Hat, Goblin Tuxedo, Winterfell Diamond Seam Short Sword, Winterfell Short Bow, and Small Cloth Bag. I believe you have already seen the description of the items. Based on the required items, even if we hunt in the spider's lair for 3 days, we can't possibly exchange for all the items. The rich gamers should be able to grab all the items within 3 days. But do not worry, though the quantity of the items is limited, there are not many rich gamers, so everyone will have a chance to exchange for an item or two. I will arrange the items according to their descending prices. Winterfell Short Bow greater than Small Cloth Bag equals Winterfell Diamond Seam Short Sword greater than Winter's Sun Hat equals Goblin Tuxedo. Winterfell Short Bow is currently the only long-range weapon in the game. Needless to say, it is extremely expensive. Within 100 meters, a gamer would be able to kill an underground spider without any injury, but how the bow functions will depend on actual testing. Currently, nobody has exchanged for the bow. It is not easy to obtain 500 units of spider leg, meat, direwolf skin, killer vine bark or 50 units of spider silk. However, this is the top item for rich gamers to purchase. Next is the small cloth bag that costs 100 units of basic materials or 10 units of spider silk. Hard-working gamers can exchange for one within 2 days even without spending money. As there are only 20 of them, normal gamers will need to make full use of their time. I feel that the Winterfell Diamond Seam Short Sword is dispensable and pricey. As compared to its Healthist version, the Winterfell Short Sword has a damage of 0-15. The game combat system depends on the realistic combat situation and is too complex to be represented by numbers. After some testing, the effect of the sword depends on its wielder. It does not mean that a weapon with higher damage can be used to defeat a stronger opponent. Equipment is only a factor in determining the result of a combat. When the opponent is of equal capability, only then does the equipment comes into effect. The most important thing is the gamer's combat skills. When 30 of us fully armed gamers explored the spider's lair, we were unable to kill a single spider. But 5 experienced gamers with 10 combat training sessions easily handled a spider without casualties. This is the importance of combat skills and experience. Of course, it does not mean that weapons are not important. An empty-handed gamer can never be compared to a well-armed gamer. The game producer did not explain the combat and weapon systems. We had to do the exploration. This is a huge area that cannot be covered overnight. There were many unknowns waiting for us beta gamers to test and discover. I know some gamers may find the combat system too complex to learn. As I have said, Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom for the past half-month has been like a new life to me, a sword and magic life. The complex combat system is true to life. Rather than being too complex to learn, I am deeply addicted. I won't go into the details. You will get to experience it in open beta. The remaining Winter's Sun Hat and Goblin Tuxedo are ornamental equipment. To me, both the hat and coat are not convenient for carrying bricks and fighting spiders. For pro-appearance gamers, they might be worthwhile to exchange, but for pro-fighting gamers, you may ignore them. I will end the post here as I have to fight the spiders. I have already exchanged for the small cloth bag. My next target is the short bow. Sherlock finished reading Not Your Rinkman's post. He did not expect the gamers to analyze every activity and every barter item. Did the gamers have a lot of free time? This was one of the special traits of the gamers. They had done too many foolish things. What was one extra deed? The replies were interesting. Most of them were envious, jealous or angry. Some were about combat techniques and others were just squabbles. Leaking rain more our coat. Are these pictures screenshots? I checked just now. This online game passed the censorship and there is a registration number. I am curious how this game passed the checks. Trust, professional and friendly. I feel that the tuxedo looks pretty neat. From the pictures, the goblin will look cool wearing it. Raincoat kitten, the goblins are ugly. Does wearing the tuxedo make any difference? Lightning Dharma Tesla, looking forward to the combat testing of the short bow. According to the game's realism, unless the user has learned archery before, they have to learn how to use the bow before they will be able to hit anything. Female known control, thank you, Op. I look forward to your posts every day. I'm dying from not being able to play Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom. Non-existing, I know the logic. When is the open beta? Sherlock was reading everyone's replies happily and was hitting the F5 button to refresh the page when he heard Bruce say, Lord Sherlock, sorry to bother you. Nicholas is coming your way. Sherlock was puzzled. Sherlock had an agreement with Nicholas. If there were no important matters, Nicholas had to stay within the restricted area. Even if he had questions, he had to hold back. Why was he looking for Sherlock? While Sherlock was still bewildered, Nicholas appeared outside the dungeon core main hall.